Pay close attention. This isn't something you see every day.
Welcome back to another video, and today I want to talk about the Jada Toys Ultra Street Fighter 2 Final Challengers Sagat. Now, I've been waiting for this guy for a while. Couldn't find him in Targets out here in New York. Don't know why. I asked the guy, but he said they just don't carry him anymore. So whatever that's about, that's something that they're going to have to figure out. But the good thing is, I guess they're going to be hitting Walmarts, but not anytime soon. So anyway, I got this guy off of BBTS. Here he is in the box. Big box, because he's a big boy. So, you know, that's what's going to be. It's the classic arcade cabinet like we always get with the other ones. They're a little bit smaller, considering this guy's like, what, 7'2" or something like that. And then on the side, we have the artwork. On the back, we have the different challengers. And then a nice picture of Sagat. And then on this side, we have his name. And then we have his country of origin, which is Thailand. And then his fighting style, which is Muay Thai, also known over here in the Americas as kickboxing. So, which therefore, let's get this guy out of the box and let's talk about him. But before we do, I just want to say really quick that when you do watch these figures not on every single one, but when I do these reviews, I do try to get into the history of the actual character itself. So you will see and hear some of that here. You will get some knowledge on the actual characters, some background, some history, so on and so forth. So yada, yada, yada. Now let's roll that back again. Let's get him out of the box. Let's talk about him. All right, so now that we have him out of the box, here he is. I decided to put him in a like a Muay Thai stance that they do in actual life, the way they actually, when they fight, when they go to throw a kick, you know, everything in Muay Thai, the arms, the legs, the knees, the elbows, all represent some type of weapon and whatever, whatnot in the fighting style. But anyway, in Sagat's world, you know, Jada finally made this guy. I figured he would have been one of the guys that they made first before they started doing duplicates and whatever, whatnot and stuff like that. Really quick toe hinge here. Mine was a little bit loose, seems to not be so wiggly waggly like it was when I first took it out of the package, so maybe it was just past its point. But anyway, when it comes to the sculpt, taking a look at this guy, so we have his iconic eye patch, we have the scar here on the head and on the neck, and then of course his iconic scar going across his chest. Now, Gohabiki, which is Danabiki's father, is the one that gave Sagat this eye. Now Sagat, back in the day, he was a little bit of a thug, and he went to go challenge Gohabiki to a battle, and that's how he lost his eye. Now, when he lost his eye, of course, Sagat killed Gohabiki in front of Dan, and then, you know, Dan is the guy in the pink gi who ruined his gi by, I think he washed red in with his white gi, so that's how it turned pink. Anyway, he's the guy who tries to do like a Hadouken, and it doesn't really go anywhere. It's like a little tiny thing. He's got the, you know, he's got his hair pulled back in a ponytail. Yeah, he's kind of a joke character, you know, of Ryu and Ken. Anyway, he wants his revenge on Sagat. Sagat does go and fight him, but Sagat lets him win. But after he lost his eye, he I don't want to say humbled, but he is, you know, in the Street Fighter game, so to speak, and let's not go back too far into history, but in the Street Fighter game, he was the main boss. Street Fighter 2, he was second to Bison because he became Bison's bodyguard in Thailand, which is iconic stages with the sleeping Buddha. You know, and I think it was the gold color that they used in Final Challengers. Later on, it actually becomes the actual color that it actually is in real life, which is kind of like a white, kind of oxidized looking color of the actual statue. But anyway, once he received this iconic scar across his chest from Ryu, which in that battle, from what they say, even though that they show Ryu giving it to him, Sagat had given Ryu the hands and pretty much defeated Ryu, and in Ryu's anger, he turned around and gave him the scar. And then after that, you know, so on and so forth. But anyway, look at this. I mean, what Jada has brought here is absolutely phenomenal. Now, I want to touch on one other thing real quick before we go any further, and that is, we all know that Storm Collectibles is making their Sagat as well in a 6-inch thing, and you know, they're doing their Alpha line. Hey, that's cool. You have different places to choose from. It's like Ford or Chevy or anything like that when you go to buy a car. You know, Kia, Porsche, you name it, you have your choice. But I will say that Jada is still killing it when it comes to these figures. Now, I'm not knocking Storm Collectibles because they've been making Street Fighter figures for a long time in a larger scale. Now they're scaling them down to a 6-inch. If you ask me, Jada kind of beat them to the punch and doing the 6-inch. They're like, hey, we got to get on board with this. You know, hey, listen, it's a company. They're here to make money. But as long as they're doing great jobs with their figures and stuff like that, that makes people happy. You have a choice between Jada. You have a choice between Storm Collectibles. Either way, you have those choices. So it's not about a thing of Jada beats Storm, Storm beats Jada. It's what you want. It's your choice, ultimately, on what you want to get. Now that I'm done with my rambling, back to Sagat here. I mean, just beautifully done. I like the way they did the white out on the eye, the scar on the neck, of course, which I already mentioned, down to his shoulders. They did his arm wraps that go all the way up to the forearm, down to his hands, of course. You know, and that's another thing too. I mean, his iconic shorts, I believe they were purple and red originally. But here we have them in the blue and red, down to his legs, down to his feet, which are wrapped as well. The heel sticking out of the back, which would make sense. No reason to wrap the heel considering that's one of the strongest points right there on the body. But everything else as far as support because of where you're kicking, absolutely. Now, another thing with this guy really quick is he's a big dude because he's what, 7'4", 7'2", something like that. His fighting style is the tiger fighting style. And I remember fighting this guy in Street Fighter 2 back in the day with my friends. And he would get in this pose. I'm going to try and do it here. Where he kind of would crouch down. And that's why they gave him the foot. The toe hinge. And, you know, this is kind of a horrible representation on my behalf. But anyway, here you would have him doing his tiger. You know, he always would go, "Iger, Iger," and he would shoot that blast at you like this. And, you know, he would lean forward a little more doing it. And because, you know, and his arms would, you know, be out there. So as you would try to jump over that Iger blast that he would do like this, then he would turn around as soon as you would get over that, because I think he shot like 3 of them back to back, right? He would go Iger, Iger, and he would shoot them out. Then the guy would turn around as soon as you got, like, you make it over to first, you make it over to second, as soon as you made it over to third to get to him, this fool would turn around and he would do the unthinkable. Right when you thought you had him, yo, he would hit you with the tiger uppercut, and he would come in like this and hit you with it, you know, and knock you out, take you out of the fight, whatever the case is, because that's just what Sagat did. I think he was one of the most frustrating people to fight in the game. Like, I didn't find Balrog to be that hard to fight, and I didn't find Vega to be that hard to fight, especially if you were using like Chun-Li. You could get her to jump up off the wall and she would, you know, she could kick off the wall and get that extra little bit of height on Vega and to take him out. But as you can see, he does have a nice kick. Now, these shorts aren't as soft as say Ryu's or Ken's or Fei Long's, but you can still get him up there, you know, to get that range, because that's not bad at all to do a front kick, especially with his height. You know, that axe kick coming down, that's going to break your collarbone if he hits you with it, that's for sure. Back kick, I mean, you know, he can You can get him to do a back kick pretty easily. Just like this. Actually, the foot should be facing downward. He should be looking over his shoulder with his hands here and stepping back. Oh, keep him in camera as he kicks backwards. And then a side kick, of course. You know, when doing side kicks, we make sure that the feet face forward, not inward, not your knee facing inward. It always faces outward because that's the correct way to do a kick. And then knife edge that ankle to get that kick in there. And that's how you would get a proper kick. Now, can he stand? Sure. Let's see if I can get him to stand here, because that's the important thing, right? You want to be able to get him to stand when you're doing these poses, right? So, yeah. Without me trying to hold him, just gotta get a little bit of balance. Ta-da! There he is. My hands are here, so. But yeah, otherwise, big boy, big Muay Thai fighter that you have in your arsenal now, and absolutely, you can reenact that fight between Ryu and Sagat, or just have him beat the bricks off of anybody that you want to have him beat the bricks off of, because he is just one big, tall, menacing character that I have to tell you. And he is based off an actual fighter, and that's truth. I don't remember the actual fighter's name, so I do apologize. If you guys do remember, please put it down in the comments down below. That's a shame on me because I have forgotten. I could easily look it up, but I'm you know, when I edit this, I'll probably just throw it in there. But yeah, shame on me for not having that ahead of time. As far as the other thing too that used to remind me of back in the 80s, if you guys have seen, what was the movie? Kickboxer with Jean-Claude Van Damme. The guy who played Tong Po, that dude reminded me of Sagat through and through. And I always said if they did a Street Fighter movie, that would be the guy who could play Sagat. Always, you know. But he had the braid. Take the braid off, whatever the case is. But yeah, my legal. Anyway, going right into his accessories. He has his I guess you could say his grasping hands or his tiger flame effects. But I remember him doing the two fists. Either way, you can use them for however you feel to use. And then you have his other head sculpt where, once again, the eye patch, the eye, scar on the head, but he's gritting his teeth. So it's more of his angry look. And yeah, so you definitely can put it however you want. I think he would look menacing that way or this way. Either way you want to choose to do is up to you. And then, of course, we have his flame effect or his tiger blasting effect right here. It's like looking into the sun. So pretty cool. Nice little flame effects on the back right here. You have a peg hole at the bottom, and then of course you have his stand, which you would just plug this in here like so, and then you can set it up in front of him and have him doing whatever you want to do, or if you need to use it for something else. So, you know, listen, I have to say this through and through, that with what you're getting, the cost of these figures, and I can't say it enough, like I've said it with Fei Long and Chun-Li and Ken and Ryu, Bison, Dalsim, you know, it doesn't make a difference on which figure you get, even if it's just a one. Now, these guys are a little bit more expensive because they're a little bit bigger, but the fact of the matter is you're getting a good bang for your buck when it comes to these figures. You know, normally you could get turn around and pay $60 for a figure like this, and you know, he wasn't $60, but I'm just saying you would end up paying $60 for a figure like this from some other toy, you know, maker, you know, some other company. I'm not knocking those that do, but are you getting the same articulation? Are you getting the same detail? No. And yes, he doesn't come with a whole lot of accessories, and that's fine. Sometimes, you know, you pay for a smaller figure that comes with tons and tons of accessories that you don't ever use. I mean, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but you pay more money for it, and the articulation is just sad, sad, sad. Now, I have some SH Figure Art Dragon Ball Z figures. I'm a big Dragon Ball Z fan. They don't have this type of articulation. This guy being a big boy, yeah, he has a little bit of hindrance right there for whatever reason. Now, I didn't check to see if he has a drop down leg, and maybe he does. A little bit, it seems to drop down in there. Yep. Drops down, nice little front kick. I know that I got a Goku figure that his leg only goes about that forward. And not to mention, when it comes to like certain Hasbro figures, I mean, that Ultimate Spider-Man can't even do the splits. This guy can do the splits. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not knocking those other companies. I'm just saying, for a company like Jada, who has come in and with their design, and they take the time. Yes, it takes time for us to get these figures, but you know what? I'd rather take a little bit longer to get them, you know, and to have them for my collection, or just to review them, whichever way you want to look at it, because of the fact that they are doing phenomenal work. I mean, this guy looks straight out of the cartoon, straight out of the game, the way they used to draw him in the little books back in the, you know, late 80s, early 90s, you know, when the games were out, and you used to buy for the Nintendo or Super Nintendo, whichever it was, and they'd have the book with the characters and the backstories and all that good stuff. Anyway, enough of my rambling. I tell you, I used to play Street Fighter a lot as a kid. And, you know, now they have Street Fighter 6 out, which is phenomenal. When I was playing it, Sagat had not been unlocked. I will end up going back to it again. But this guy definitely, and word to the wise, even though he started off as a bad guy and doing bad things, he's turned it around. Now he's a good guy. So you can put him however you want to put him. Good, bad, whatever you want, or just an anti-hero. Anyway, guys, enough of my rambling, enough of my time taking up your guys' time. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this review. Please like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment down below. Always hit the notification bell so you never miss out on anything new. And yeah, guys, I mean, you know, definitely do so. You know, hit the thumbs up, hit the like, because it helps the channel grow. Become, you know, subscribe to the channel. That's great. I always answer everybody's comments, good or bad, either way. I will answer back. So with that being said, guys, catch y'all on the flippity flip.